Hello everybody, Jediwarlock here and welcome back to another video here on the channel. Today we're continuing on in the world of Warcraft and completing our journey swimming around the Eastern Kingdoms. If you haven't watched part 1 already, go ahead and check that out before watching this second half. I also want to offer my most sincere appreciation for all the support of the channel recently. As of recording this narration, we've completely passed 1,000 subscribers and basically have doubled the subscriber count within a 2-day window, which is beyond my understanding. It's so awesome. Thank you very much. I'll make sure to keep your positive and informative comments in mind in my future explorations. So, with all that being said, let's get right into it and explore the oceans of Azeroth. Picking up right where we left off, I said goodbye to the placeholder ruins of Quel'Thalas and began swimming west. While I saw nothing of importance along the mountains bordering the western Plaguelands, the sunset was pretty cool. Just another detail in WoW that I probably overlook most of the time. The light of the sunset was soon obscured by the gloom of Tirisfal Glades, a horde zone that, regardless, is still a bit unsettling to venture through. Murlocs prowled the north coast, clambering over a shipwreck and the carcasses of dead sea creatures. This is a common theme we're gonna see more of later. The Eastern Kingdoms really does have a Murloc infestation of sorts. The Whispering Shore is an interesting piece of this zone that is often overlooked but has its own sort of tranquil beauty. A few small islands dot the bay, and while I knew there probably wouldn't be much up here, it was a nice view that, surprisingly, wasn't as dreary as the rest of the zone. A tower of the Scarlet Crusade watches over the coastal farms here, and was my last glimpse of the zone before returning to the view of the mountains. After a quick break, during which my priest got soaked out of the water, I made my way past Silver Pine Forest, where I saw this lonely forsaken fisherman and another shipwreck, but what came next was a bit more of a shock. In the mountains where the sepulchre can be found, the coastline reveals a shamanistic ritual site, complete with a troll shaman and some water elementals. I looked into this spot, and apparently it has to do with the shaman class quest, the Call of Water, and since I've never leveled a horde shaman before, I had no idea this area was here. On my way out of the zone, I got a neat seaside view of Shadowfang Keep that reveals just how detailed the dungeon model is, even from the outside. Now, those of you who know retail WoW may be familiar with Gilneas, the Worgen Kingdom, that was added in Cataclysm. In Classic WoW, however, this region is locked behind the Greymane Wall, and much like the areas of Quel'Thalas, it is basically an unfinished peninsula that you swim around on the way to the Hillsbrad foothills. From this side of the bay, you can even see the mountains of Dun Morogh, but it would be quite a while before I got there. Murlocs, Naga, and South Shore pretty much sum up my swimming experience within the Hillsbrad foothills. Purgation Isle, part of the classic Armor quest line, sat menacingly off to the south, and while the smaller islands off the coast didn't reveal any secrets, I was excited for what came next. The fallen kingdom of Stromgarde greeted my priest as we swam along the coastline into the Arathi Highlands. One of my favorite hidden locations is Faldir's Cove, a pirate hideaway only accessible by water, along with the Drowned Reef, which is the resting place of at least 2 ships and a sunken city. While the lore lists this underwater ruin as elven in nature, which the arcane lights seem to indicate, the ruins themselves are obviously similar to other Titan ruins I've covered in some of my other videos. After a quick trip back to the Thandol Span for completion's sake, I re-entered Cos Medan and began traveling along the wetlands. The Lost Fleet shipwrecks were the only real point of interest here until I reached Menethil Harbor, the Alliance stronghold of the region. My infiltration skills, minimal though they may be, thankfully weren't needed as I swam underneath the boats, and I was able to avoid any Alliance entanglements. I was expecting to find a hidden campsite or something along this southern wall of the bay, but I just found trees as I began to circumvent the mountains of Dunmoreau. Not much farther, I encountered another of my favorite secret spots within the game. Newman's Landing, as it is known, may not look like much, but according to WoW veterans, it has a special purpose within the game. Apparently, when new Alliance characters are created, they are spawned in at this dock for a brief moment before being teleported to their starting zones, hence the name Newman's Landing. There's even a cozy little cottage, so if there's any place to move your Fisherman RP character, it would definitely be here. The White Towers of Stormwind were my next destination, and I figured out real quick that getting too close would be problematic. The harbor was added with the release of Wrath of the Lich King, and you can really see the detail the designers included to make the city seem more involved in the Northrend campaign, including the dry docks for the steam-powered ships, along with the massive hangar that I'm almost certain foreshadows the Skybreaker that flies over Icecrown. The underwater view is also spectacular, and the sturdy docks are some of the most detailed in the game. A near miss by the boat to Teldrassil allowed me to keep on swimming to the golden coasts of Westfall, which hosted a record 6 shipwrecks and plenty of murlocs for new human players to take care of. All my island hopping ended up paying off here, as some of the small ones off the coast are home to mysterious locked chests, and this one in particular even has a small shed. As I passed the lighthouse and swam south out of Westfall, you can even see the secret apple orchard that can be found near the exit of the Dead Mines. The end was in sight as I crossed into the coastline of Stranglethorn, but I knew there was still plenty to see before the end of my journey. Right off the bat, Yojamba Isle, home of the Zandalari expedition, was on my right, and on my left, one of my favorite details on this entire trip. A massive gate separates the sea from what is actually the ironclad cove of the Dead Mines. A giant skeleton, eerily similar to the trident-wielding lizards I discussed in my Desolace Explored video, can also be found in the nearby waters, thankfully not posing a threat to swimmers. The Vile Reef, perhaps one of the largest underwater features in the game, is a great example of how to use world space effectively. Not only are there troll ruins, and of course shipwrecks down here, there are actually some well-defined roads and walkways that, while I can't say exactly why they exist, definitely add to the atmosphere of this watery area. The last leg of my swim took me through the vast deserts of coastal sand found here in the tropics, further highlighting the detail with which this massive world was created. At long last, the Isle of Janeero's Point literally welcomed me with open arms, and I finished my journey with a total time of a little over 4.5 hours. Realistically, a little bit less with my short beach stops included. Overall, a fruitful adventure around the Eastern Kingdoms, and one that revealed a few more details than I thought existed in the game. I'm really looking forward to doing more of these videos on Kalimdor and Northrend, and I want to thank you all again for your tremendous support of my content. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to leave a like, comment down below with your thoughts, subscribe if you're new to join the rapidly growing Jedi Order, and until next time, peace.